I'm gonna try this in my film, and I'm gonna try. So every time I watch this, I watch the old famous movies, and I always find something new to learn as a filmmaker. I can use this technique. I can find something I missed the first time. But your answer took me to my next question. I want to talk about the artificial intelligence philosophy, like what comes and your art philosophy. What's the story behind that?
So I have answered that question before. So we have those two minds, the outer analytical mind and the inner quiet, calm, peaceful mind. When I make art, I want my...
What's your philosophy?
When I make art with the intention that whoever is looking at that piece of work immediately can stop processing and analyzing it and feel the piece that they have from inside. So that piece of art needs to speak to their inner mind so that they are able to enjoy it. And I've noticed that when we look at realistic pieces of art, our outer mind quickly processes it and we want to move on to the next piece. And I focus on the abstract because the abstract is something that your outer mind can't ever analyze fully. So in some ways, your inner mind has to step in there and explore what it means to your inner mind and how you feel about it. And so it brings out all of your tranquility, peace, and your feelings from inside that your outer mind could never have reached.
Okay, I'd like to close the interview with a question of implications of artificial intelligence, what it means for the future, how we can move from here, like where it takes you next.
Good question. So there are a few artists that are working in artificial intelligence space. I am one of the few pioneers, but as an art community, we have a long way to go from here. We are still trying to understand. So when we think about AI-generated art, a couple of questions come to mind. First of all, what we have to rethink and reevaluate what is art and what is good art, especially as it relates to AI-generated art. So we have to go back and redefine those things. And then third, how do art critics evaluate whether a piece of AI-generated art is good or not?
But it's very simple. You go to Sotheby's or Christie's and you see the pricing, and whatever sells at a higher price and faster, probably that's one metric that you can consider. The other metric, if you can put it on Instagram and you get millions and billions of views, that probably have something to do with the popularity and the numbers. If you do art and a famous critic will maybe write a piece about it and it's end up in magazines, are probably important people. If Lady Gaga talks about it or Donald Trump talks about your piece of art, maybe you touch some souls that are important to some people. So there are certain metrics that can, not one of them is a guarantee, but a combination, like a Facebook algorithm or Google algorithm. It's not fair, but it's the fairest out there right now, I would say. And if they find a better formula to define art, maybe it could be altered eventually.
Cannot debate with that. Obviously, that all of what you said makes sense. I know Christie's is auctioning their first AI-generated piece next week. And that's going to be exciting because we're going to see what happens with that. And that's the first piece that's ever being auctioned in the world that was AI generated. So that's a first step into AI-generated art becoming more mainstream, because art critics are now taking notice of this new genre of art. But
it's basically you judging the person who wrote that algorithm, the team that wrote that algorithm. That's, let's say, another team wrote another artificial intelligence engine, and they could be more creative than the first one. So it's at the end of the day, it's maybe, if not directly, but it's the people who behind that. Someone, if you look at the particular company or particular organization, there is John, Alex, whatever, Cindy, some actual people behind that who actually build that.
Excellent point. And that is why defining what good art means when it relates to AI generated art is very important, because you can just have algorithms compete with each other one after the other, and you would never know which one is good and which one is not. Yes, of course, if Christie's is auctioning your work versus somebody else's algorithm that nobody cares about, we can kind of say that that work is better because Christie's cares about that work. However, I don't really know if the aesthetics behind AI-generated art have been fully defined yet. Yes, we are trying, we are starting to get to that point, and we're asking the right questions, but as an art community, we haven't really completely defined the aesthetics behind AI-generated art. And it's going to take some time, because if you think about traditional photography and traditional art, it went through several phases, right? It went through, there was Impressionism, and then Henri Matisse and Paul Cézanne, they started with Impressionism, then they moved farther ahead to Abstract Expressionism, and it progressed from one to the other. There was Cubism, there was Futurism, all of those different things. So all of those isms were some ways for us to define what is good art and what is art within that ism. And AI-generated art is a new genre of art, and we don't really know if it is going through those it's going to go through those progression of phases yet.
In 50, 100 years, we'll certainly know. We'll see what stays in people's mind. Let me ask you, if audience would like to buy some of your work, and maybe we can show a piece. I just saw a piece. Can we have it? Can you bring it to us so we can show to the audience what it looks like? And thank you so much. And let's see, guys. Okay, so you cannot see the artist, but that's the piece. What's the name of it? What's the name of the piece? No, keep let them see.
This is
You want to talk about it?
Yes, I would love to talk about this piece. So I forgot the name of the piece, actually.
It's okay. We can put it in subtitles. Just talk about your piece.
So this is an abstract piece, and it was part of a show at Viridian Artist Gallery a couple of months ago. We had a 50-year anniversary show, and this was the only AI-generated piece in that show. And the interesting part about...
You did it with your own computer? Or
Yes, I did it with my own computer. And the interesting part is I don't want people to look at this piece and think about it. I want them to stand 2 feet away and look at it and tell me what they feel. So it's interesting. It is weird. You don't know what is going on. You can probably see some faces that are hidden in... Oh, I remember the title of this piece now. It's called Unseen and Unheard. Okay. So there are unseen faces that are hidden somewhere in this piece here. You can see some noses somewhere. You can see some ears somewhere. It's just a combination of people and body parts. No, people that you may know, but you never see.
Wow.
And about the unheard piece comes from what they say. A lot of people say really cool stuff and important stuff in the world, but they never have that big voice from which they can come out and share it with the world. So this piece was dedicated to them. And as I started talking about it, I remembered it made me feel something, and from there I started to remember what it was called. And that's what I mean. Sometimes your analytical mind is processing stuff, but it doesn't stop there. When you pause for a moment and then start to look at a piece and feel it, suddenly everything comes back.
Can you tell, please, my audience, if folks would like to buy this piece or maybe look at some other work, or maybe you have like Instagram page or Facebook page by any chance, where people can see your art?
Thanks. I have a Facebook page. It is called Art by Srividya, and they can also buy my pieces by contacting the Viridian Artist Gallery, and they represent me, so you can buy anything from my page from my website. My website is sriphoto.com, SRI photo.com, and of course you can also contact me directly from there.
Thank you, guys.